Okay. Hopefully I can get through this chat without the kids interrupting. They're downstairs having a snack. I'm trying to decide how to start this conversation. So the last video I posted that was more substance was me sitting in the kitchen and talking to you guys about me and the kids going back home and finding our forever home and starting on a homestead. Obviously that didn't happen. Why? Well, in February, it's kind of fuzzy because it's been, 3 months now, but in February, I went and had to buy something that I hadn't had to buy in a while, and I bought a pregnancy test. Now, when Jacob was born, I had a tubal ligation. I'm just gonna let that sit. Go back to our story. That was 4 years ago, mind you, almost. Took a pregnancy test. It was positive. And so, in February, I started kind of panicking because I was worried that I was going to have an ectopic, which could result in a D&C, a surgery to get an ectopic pregnancy out of your tubes, essentially. Usually an ectopic means it's not where it's supposed to be and it's dangerous for you. Well, usually the side effects of an ectopic are severe amounts of pain, headaches, nausea, vomiting, etc. I didn't have any of that. I had actual pregnancy symptoms. The metallic taste in your mouth, the bloating, which I always get before my cycle, so that wasn't completely abnormal. But it started really early. And so at that time, I believe I was at least a week before my period was due. Now, I understand that yes, that's early to test, but I have long cycles, like 32 days. So for me, it really wasn't that long. I was 8 days past ovulation, which is a decent amount of time for you to get an early pregnancy test result positive. And I did. And got all excited. I was thrilled. I thought, wow, okay, I'm okay with having a fourth, and been having some weird dreams about having a kid. I started having dreams about getting a positive pregnancy test, and I found that odd. My husband had previously had a dream that I was pregnant, and he had to tell me that I had to trade in my truck for a van, and in the dream I was upset about that, which is legit. I probably would be upset about that. I like my truck. So let's get back to the story. Rabbit trails. So the day before my cycle was due, I did go and get an ultrasound done. The reason I got the ultrasound was because I had a month or two prior contacted my doctor and asked if we could investigate why my cycles are so terrible. Literally painful every single time. Not quite to the level of what I know a miscarriage feels like, because that usually entails losing your lunch, is how I know that that's happening. And I don't quite get that bad, but I am basically incapacitated for 6 to 8 hours during the second day of my cycles. And we were investigating as to why that was happening. And so, fast forward, I get the ultrasound, and then I get the results on a disc the next week. Now, at the ultrasound, I told the tech, there was no doctor involved. It was just a tech, okay? 2 days before my cycle was due. I told him I took an early pregnancy test. It was a faint positive, but it was a positive. Now, I'm not supposed to be able to get pregnant. Is there a way that you can see anything on this scan that would indicate one way or the other? His response was very affirmative. He said, no, because if you're pregnant, you would only be about 4 weeks pregnant. and I would not be able to determine that that was the case at this early of a stage. And even if you were past that, I would not be allowed to say anything. Okay, that's all I needed to know. So in other words, he couldn't tell me anything, and that's all I needed to know. That weekend, I had a miscarriage. And I know that because, yes, I had the period, but I've had a miscarriage. I've had 4 miscarriages. I know what they feel like. They hurt a lot. And it does involve, losing your breakfast, lunch, or dinner, whatever the time of the day may be. And that happened. And it was terrible, and it was frightening because I almost passed out in the bathroom. I couldn't really orient myself. I was dizzy and all sorts of terrible things. And so we were going to go to the ER, but at that point I said, you know what, at this point I'm starting to feel better. Things have passed and I'm fine. So we stayed home and I just rested. I was okay. And I was mentally okay because I knew, like I had told a friend, the fact that I got pregnant was a miracle. That wasn't supposed to be able to happen. So the fact that, my body was able to do that was astounding to me. Okay. So that's that story. That was why we didn't move in the first place. Fast forward a couple weeks, I requested the medical information from the ultrasound because I needed to take it to my OBGYN, who is on the economy. She is a German doctor. We do not have enough OB doctors here at the base that we're at and at the surrounding bases to see me, just an ordinary person with ordinary stuff. So I went to a German OB. Well, the first visit was kind of a bust because she said that I needed to have all of my information printed out. Well, it's on a disc. I didn't have a disc reader because it's 2022. So I rescheduled it and went back a second time. And the second time we had a conversation because I had done quite a bit of research. I had a laptop that has a disc reader, and so I was able to read the information for myself. I am not an ultrasound tech. I am not qualified to look at the pictures, but I have friends and family, sister, mother-in-law, who have worked with coding, doctor, etc., and are able to help me kind of identify, the doctor's speech within this transcript. And it gave the results of the ultrasound. It also gave, it's just their estimation and everything that they decided what was going on at the time in my body. When you look at that result, there is a section that said EDD, which means estimated due date, November 1st, 2022. Okay. Fetus, 1. Okay, so I did have a miscarriage. That's encouraging. I can get pregnant. Fast forward again. I asked for the medical transcripts from when Jacob was born, the information about my tubal ligation. Now, it did take 3 weeks and a few phone calls to the States to get that information. I did get it. This is the part where it gets a little bit tricky and I don't have an explanation yet. When they did my tubal ligation, I assumed that they did it the way that I've always heard that people get it done, okay? I assumed that they did the cut and then you cauterize the ends. I did not assume that they took off any chunk of my tube. I did not assume that they clipped my tube. I did not assume that they tied my tube. Because the paper that I signed said tubal ligation. It did not give any information as to how that was done. My fault, I should have asked. I was more worried about having a baby. So come to find out, I have fill sheet clips on my tubes, and I didn't know it until about a month ago, and I'm not okay with it because I am one of those people who doesn't think that you should have something in your body unless medically necessary. And if you had given me the choice 4 years ago, when I was about to give birth to a baby, even so, if you said, okay, we're going to leave these clips in your body and hope that they stay there? No, I would have said no. And so I was upset about that. And it's still kind of irritating that they did that without my permission, without my knowledge. I had no idea for 4 years. And so I want those out. Also, I don't know how I got pregnant. Those clips are still there. They were not in that first ultrasound. There was no recollection whatsoever of those Filshie clips. There was nothing written about my tubes having clips on them. And honestly, when I look at the pictures, I can't see them. My doctor, my OB, did say that the pictures were not very well done, and she couldn't hardly understand what they were showing, aside from what was written at the bottom. But she didn't see them either. So that was frustrating. Skip forward again. My OB and the ER doctor that I saw for pain in an ovary a few weeks ago, it was hurting so bad and I couldn't figure out why, and it wasn't subsiding with anything. So I went in and had an ultrasound and a CT scan, or whatever it is when they light up your innards with fluid and they scan your body, whatever that's called. CAT scan, I think, or I don't know, whatever it's called. And I'm irritated at myself because I didn't ask to see the photos, but the ER doctor assured me that the Filshie clips are where they're supposed to be. They have not migrated, which is a possibility. They have not come unclamped and moved to a different part of your body, which is also a possibility. Two things that I really don't like thinking about. The fact that there are foreign objects in my body, and the fact that they could at any point in time, theoretically, come undone. But, you know, in the past almost 4 years, I have done CrossFit, I have done horseback riding, I've done all manners of exercise. I have 3 kids that I carry around all the time. I've got a crazy dog who likes to pull me on walks. You know, I haven't done anything slower than normal because I didn't know they were in there and didn't think that I would ever have to slow down for any reason. So it is comforting to an extent to know that they haven't moved to date. But I am going to request that they come out when I get exploratory surgery for endometriosis. We're under the assumption, and again, it could be wrong, but my OB and that ER doctor both believe that I am developing endometriosis or have endometriosis, and it's just getting worse. And it actually does make sense because before I had children, I did have rough cycles already. That has never not been a thing. I've always had rough cycles, but they have progressively gotten worse, especially in the past 1.5 years, 2 years, when I have not been nursing or getting pregnant. And so, now, present date, we are working on getting paperwork through to relocate all of us, hopefully, to the States to get me assigned with a doctor in the States and do the exploratory surgery for endometriosis. And I'm praying to heaven and to the Lord God Almighty that while they're in there, they can get those clips out. Because at this point, I do want another kid. And that would be great if they could take those clips off my body and let my body naturally heal on its own and just kind of pray through it from there. If God decides to give us another kid, that would be amazing. But if he deems it not worthy, I'm not pushing it. So that is where we are. That is a long-winded way of saying we postponed. So at this point, I am waiting. I have just received paperwork from TRICARE, my doctor, and the head doctor at the hospital near here, all approving us relocating to the States for this because I don't feel comfortable getting it done through a German hospital. I just don't. And that's just my personal opinion. That's just my personal preference. I would rather get it done in the States I would rather get it done in the States where I feel more comfortable with the doctors. We speak the same language. That's a huge thing for me. I know the Germans have good doctors, and that's not the problem. I just want to feel safe, comfortable in an environment where I'm going to be put to sleep for a surgery. And I want to know that I will wake up feeling just as comfortable, you know? And I would really prefer for the entire family to get relocated for the whole thing. We're moving back to the States next summer anyways, so we're praying that they will give us a compassionate relocation to Tennessee, preferably. And also, if I were to have that surgery, I would be out of commission for a couple weeks, a few weeks, and it would be nice to be around Mama and a few of my friends who are in Tennessee who can help us out a little bit with the kids and with homeschooling and whatnot. So to have some friends around who would help out with the kids and with some homeschooling stuff just throughout the summer, honestly, I don't think it would happen until, you know what, I'm not going to put that doubt in there. I don't know when it would happen. It could be before July or it could be after October. And that's entirely up to the military and to God's will. And whatever he deems worthy, that's going to happen, and that's fine. So that is where we are. And thank you for hanging on for that long story. But yeah, we're excited about whatever comes next. So that is my story of the day, and I will catch up with y'all in the next video. Thank you for watching.